and welcome to our kitchen. This is week 1 of our fun weekly activities, and today we are going to be making pizza. This is one of our absolute favorite dinners to make because it's fun, easy, and it tastes good. So we are going to take a look right over here as Nathan introduces our
ingredients. All right, we are going to go over our ingredients that you will need to make pizza dough. All of these are listed below, so don't worry, you don't have to follow along, but these are what you need. You're going to need an envelope of instant yeast, rapid rise yeast, or if you don't have an envelope, if you have the jar, it's going to be 2 1/4 teaspoons. Then you are going to want either 2 teaspoons of kosher salt or 1 teaspoon of regular table salt. You're going to want garlic powder, basil, and oregano, and you can just kind of play around with those. We put those in there to make the crust taste a little bit different. If you don't want to put those in there, it's totally optional. Then next, you're going to want 3.5 to 4 cups of flour. You don't have to use bread flour, you can, but regular white flour will work just fine. So you're going to want 3.5 to 4 cups of that. We start with 3.5 and then we add in more if we need it. And then in here we have 1 teaspoon of sugar, we have our yeast, and we have our salt all mixed together. So we are going to start baking. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to put all of our flour right into our bowl of our mixer. So make sure you just empty that all in there. We want to make sure we get the flour in there. All right, I should have just taken it off the stand, but it's okay. So we have our flour in our mixer. The next thing we're going to do is add all of our dry ingredients. So we're going to add our yeast, our sugar, our salt. I'm going to pour that all in there, and then we're going to take our oregano. We're going to pour some oregano in there to give some nice flavor to the crust. There's no exact amount, we just pour in for taste. We're going to pour in a little bit of basil just to give it a little bit of a sweeter flavor. And then lastly, we're going to take our garlic powder and we're going to pour in some of that just to make sure we have a little bit of that garlic taste when we make our pizza dough. So we have all those in there. Really important, we're going to get the mixer going. Let's just stir those together just for a couple seconds, make sure everything's mixed in, and then we will start adding the rest of our ingredients. All right, so everything's mixed in. We're going to get the next 2 ingredients into our bowl. We're going to get some hot water and we're going to need some olive oil. All right, so we are ready to add in our last 2 ingredients. We're going to add in some olive oil and we're going to add in some hot water. So for the hot water, you want it to be about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, so just make sure you leave your faucet on for a while. Once a little steam starts coming out, that's what you want. You want 1.5 cups of that, so we're going to turn on the mixer and we're going to pour in our water, and then we're going to pour in 2 tablespoons of olive oil after we have that. And if it starts to stick to the sides, just make sure you push it down a little bit to make sure it all gets incorporated until that dough starts to form into a ball. All right, and my dough right now is a little bit too dry, so we're going to add in a little bit more water to make sure we get it nice and sticky. All right, so our dough, I'm going to show you this right now, is nice and tight all around the dough hook there, so it's good to go. We're going to take this, we're going to put it into a bowl with a little bit of olive oil and let it rise for about an hour. So go ahead and get your bowl, put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom, plop that dough in there, and then cover it. Let it rise in a warm place, and then in about an hour it'll be nice and risen and you'll be ready to make. We'll let that dough rise, and as we let the dough rise, it's a great time to start making our sauce. So we're going to go ahead and obviously you're not going to the grocery store as much, so I've made this a really simple sauce. So what you're going to do is, if you have some fresh garlic, go ahead and get some fresh garlic. If you have some onions, put some onions in there in the pan, some chopped onions. Take a little bit of olive oil. We're going to put it into a saucepan, and we're just going to get it nice and hot. And we're going to wait until those onions and that garlic kind of start to turn translucent, start to get You can see through them. They're going to sizzle a little bit. It's going to start to smell really good. And that is when we are going to continue with the rest of our sauce. So we're going to put that all in there. We're going to let it go for a little bit and get that sizzle and get those vegetables, the onions and the garlic, nice and translucent. Our garlic, and if you put onions in there, any other vegetables you have in there, they're nice and translucent. They've cooked down a little bit. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our tomato sauce. Like that. We want to make sure we put that in there. We're going to give it a nice stir to make sure that it's not going to burn on the bottom. Mix all of those ingredients together, the vegetables, that onion, the garlic, whatever else you have in there. Then you're going to stir that together. Then go ahead and take some dried oregano. Just put that in there. The oregano is really going to give you that nice, that traditional pizza flavor. So make sure you put a lot of oregano in there to give it a nice pizza flavor. That's what you get when you order pizza. You're going to taste a lot of oregano. So make sure you put a lot of that in there. And then you're also going to just want to take a little bit of basil. Go ahead and put some of that dried basil in there. Shake that in there and go ahead and give that a nice stir. Then the last thing you're going to want to do is just go ahead and take a little bit of sugar, just a little pinch of sugar. It's going to help balance out all those acids and give it a little bit of sweetness. So a little pinch of sugar is going to go in there. Salt and pepper to taste. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pepper in here. And then I'm going to give it a good stir. Then while your dough is still rising, best thing to do, just go ahead, take your lid, put it on top, let that sauce just kind of simmer on low and get a nice good flavor. All of those herbs and the onions and the garlic combined with the tomato sauce to make a really good pizza sauce. Now if you want to make it a little bit thicker and you want to have thicker pizza sauce, just make sure you put some tomato paste in there because that is going to go ahead and give you a nice thick. We are a little bit over halfway through letting our dough rise. We're going to take a look at it and see how it's looking. Yeah, perfect. Look at the dough is nice and risen. The bowl is about halfway full of dough now. And so we're going to continue to wait for it for a little bit more. But as we're waiting, we can go ahead and preheat the oven to 450 degrees. And that will get us ready to bake our pizza. We're going to make sure to grab some flour. So take a little bit of flour. And we just want to take it, put it on the counter, just spread it out just a little bit so we have a nice base so our dough doesn't stick to the counter. Then we're going to get our measuring pin, we're going to get our dough, and we're going to be ready to roll out our pizza. It's in the bowl, nice and risen. We're just going to plop that upside down, and then we're going to separate it into how many ever chunks of pizza you're planning on making. So we're going to make 2 pizzas, so we're going to split it in half, and we're going to roll out our pizzas, but you can split it into how many ever pieces you want. If you're making a lot of pizza, you might want to double this original recipe, but this is enough for 2 really full-size pizzas. So make sure you cut it up into how many ever pieces you want, and then start rolling them out. Alright, so we have our pizzas done here on the counter. They're rolled out to the sizes we want. Now the next part we're going to do is we're going to top them, get the sauce on there, get our toppings on there, our cheese, we have pineapple, we have some pepperoni we're going to put on there, and then we're going to put them in the oven. So go ahead and get whatever dish you're going to use to make your pizza. We have a pizza stone and a baking pan, a cookie sheet, so you can use whatever you want. We're going to get those, we're going to put the pizzas on there, we're going to top them, and then we'll throw them in. Alright, so we're ready to put on our toppings. We have our sauce, we got our cheese over here, we have pineapple, we got pepperoni right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and use a spoon to get your sauce on your pizza. So take as much sauce as you want.
I don't like a lot of sauce, so I'll just do a light coating of sauce on my pizza. Nathan uses the ladle because he likes lots of sauce. It's up to your personal preference. Now for some cheese. Ooh, Milo loves cheese. Doesn't he, Nathan?
He does. Milo loves cheese. Him and Autumn.
Oh no, we keep saying the word. He knows. Here, do you want some?
Yep. Milo and Autumn both really like their cheese. So when they smell cheese,
Game over.
they know that cheese is being
You keep saying the word.
used.
It's the word. Oh, and here comes Autumn. Alright. Last time we made these, I didn't put enough cheese. So this time, I'm putting enough cheese. Are you good, or do you need some more?
All right, so we have all of our cheese on here. We're going to start putting the rest of our toppings on. Make sure you have a nice layer of cheese. Rosalie was just saying how last time you didn't put enough cheese on, and this time
I'm making sure I'm putting enough.
making sure we're putting enough cheese on. So make sure you put a good layer of cheese, and then you're going to go ahead and take your toppings, put them all over your pizza. I'm doing pepperoni. Rosalie's got her pineapple. You can do all kinds of different things. Maybe green onions, maybe like bacon on your pizza, chicken.
My favorite is pineapple, though. I always love pineapple, which is a big debate whether pineapple should go on pizza. Some people think it should. Some people think it shouldn't. What do you think?
I like the pineapple on the pizza. And you can hear our dogs in the background.
Whoops.
They really want their cheese.
It's because you keep saying the word
Because I
cheese.
keep saying the word cheese. That's why I stopped saying the word.
Hi,
But
babies.
they're not going to get it. All right, so we have our pizzas made. They're looking great. Lots of toppings. We love seeing that. And then we're going to go ahead, put them in the oven at 450 degrees. And you're going to bake them until that crust starts to turn golden brown. Should take about 15 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, depending on your oven, depending on what you're cooking it on. But you'll just kind of want to check every 5 or so minutes to see how it's doing. So we'll put them in the oven, and then we'll check on them in a couple minutes. All right, we are about 10 minutes in here, and our pizzas are starting to look nice and golden brown a little bit. We're starting to see the cheese melt. And our crust is starting to firm up a little bit, so we're going to...
Our pizzas are out of the oven, ready to be eaten. We just have to cut them up, and we are good to go. So we hope you enjoyed our video, and hopefully you are about to enjoy your own pizza as well. So we'll see you next time.